semiconductor shortage continues to keep the automotive industry on its toes. Why? Chips have become a scarce commodity? And why? The crisis is not so easy to get a grip on? An overview of the most important questions and answers. Shortage of semiconductors is having a serious impact on industrial companies worldwide. The automotive sector has been hit hardest so far. Production lines have been stopped, employees have been put on short-time work, and new cars are getting an analog speedometer instead of a digital version. How did this bottleneck come about? When is the problem likely to be resolved? And what lessons can be learned from the situation for the future? We answer the most important questions about the semiconductor crisis. Why are semiconductors so important for the automotive industry? With their wide range of applications, semiconductors play a central role in the materials used in electronics and energy technology. Semiconductors are the main component of microchips that, for example, regulate the driving or braking behavior in electronic control units. But they also control airbags and assistance systems. Semiconductors are solids whose specific electrical resistance is strongly temperature dependent. Near absolute temperature zero, they are perfect insulators. At higher temperatures, for example at room temperature, they exhibit electrical conductivity. Due to its physical properties and good technological processability, silicon is the most important semiconductor. Transistors and diodes are the most important semiconductor components, from which electronic circuits, integrated analog and digital circuits are built. Our electronics is based on semiconductors. It deals primarily with the transformation of electrical energy in terms of its shape, that is, the level of voltage and current, as well as their waveform and frequency. It thus transforms the electrical energy provided into the form required by the consumer. This transformation now takes place very efficiently and with low losses, for example through the use of state-of-the-art control technology and microelectronics in combination with innovative power semiconductors made of silicon carbide, SiC, or gallium nitride, GaN. Power electronics has developed into a key technology that is gaining importance in many fields of application, such as electromobility. What is the cause of the semiconductor shortage? Digitization, and thus microelectronics, are moving into all areas of life. This increases the demand for semiconductors. For companies in the semiconductor industry in particular, the outlook is therefore rosy. The World Semiconductor Trade Statistics, WSTS, forecasts growth of 19.7% for 2021. This will be driven primarily by Europe and Asia this year. However, demand is currently greater than the market, and there is a shortage of semiconductors. The reasons for this are manifold. On the one hand, semiconductors have an expiration date, and cannot be kept in stock indefinitely. On the other hand, there have been supply bottlenecks at raw material suppliers, and geopolitical tensions between China and the US in recent times. So, while raw material became scarcer, the corona pandemic disrupted the chip market, and further contributed to the global semiconductor shortage. As the crisis led to production shortfalls among automakers, semiconductor orders were correspondingly reduced and in some cases cancelled. At the same time, manufacturers of communications and consumer electronics demanded more chips, which were in greater demand than ever during the crisis. Since car sales picked up strongly worldwide, in the second half of 2020, the automotive industry is now lagging behind. Lead times of 6 to 9 months are typical for complex chips, making it difficult to respond to fluctuations in demand. How is the chip shortage affecting automakers? Due to the shortage of semiconductors, all car manufacturers have had to stop their production lines again and again since the beginning of the year. According to the Reuters news agency, car giant Stellantis produced around 190,000 fewer cars than planned in the first quarter. Volkswagen said about 100,000 vehicles could not be built. According to a new forecast by global consulting firm AlixPartners, nearly 4 million fewer vehicles will be able to be produced worldwide in 2021. This corresponds to a value of $110 billion. When will the problem be resolved? Semiconductor production is complicated and cannot be ramped up in the short term. Therefore, a quick solution is not likely. Building new wafer foundries for the OEM's technologically mature products is not readily possible. The only short-term solution for automakers is to influence current chip suppliers such as TSMC, the world's largest contract chip manufacturer, to prioritize their needs over those of other TSMC customers. However, some of these have far more clout than the automakers. At the same time, management consultant Roland Berger expects greater market concentration among chip makers. This constellation would make procurement even more difficult. Roland Berger expects the semiconductor shortage to continue well beyond 2021, as the analysts forecast in their study, Global Crisis in Automotive Chip Supply. The automotive industry's demand will increase significantly by 2025, due to electrification and automated driving. How can chip bottlenecks be avoided in the future? Intel, Samsung and TSMC have announced a significant increase in their capacities. TSMC plans to invest $100 billion in increasing production over the next few years to meet rising demand for semiconductors, according to the Wall Street Journal. California-based semiconductor manufacturer Intel plans to expand its production capacity and enter the chip manufacturing business. Intel plans to spend up to $20 billion to build 2 new plants in Arizona. South Korean electronics company Samsung is increasing its investment to a total of $151 billion, which is to flow into semiconductor production by 2030, reports Reuters. In the long term, it is important to reduce the now high dependence on Asian suppliers and value chains, advise Roland Berger and the digital association Bitkom. Alternative sources of supply must be examined, and European expertise must be built up. The further development of the company's own capacities, for example in the chip cluster around Dresden, Silicon Saxony, could contribute to this. Bosch also plans to invest €1 billion in a new chip factory in Dresden. The EU Commission also recently announced the official launch of a European alliance for semiconductors and microelectronics. Car manufacturers will increase their inventories of semiconductors based on sole-sourced chips in the future. Toyota is already going down this path and, due to its high semiconductor inventories, has so far not had to shut down its automotive production due to chip shortages.